From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
American Door Company has been family-owned and operated for over 29 years, supplying Northern California with quality garage doors, garage door openers, and installed with the best service you'd expect from a locally owned company. We serve all of Northern California from Willows all the way to the Oregon state line. Give us a call today.
Well, it's the middle of the weekend. This is the first spring morning. Yesterday, we were still in winter. Reason being is the first full day of spring is today. We didn't transition from winter to spring until 8:06 last night. Just kind of a fun little fact you can tell your friends. Today is actually the first full day of spring. All right, so the temperatures, they will continue to drop. I'm expecting showers and cooler conditions by the end of the week. Now, there are a few kinks in there as we go through the next few days, which we'll get into here in a second. Snow levels will be dropping to as low as 3,000 feet, but on average around 3,500 to 4,000 feet here through the weekend. And then an unsettled weather pattern will probably continue at least now into the early parts of next week, maybe into the middle of next week. We'll take a look at that a little bit more in that deeper dive forecast. But let's get you out the door this morning. Of course, you can see in the valley, we are going to see some clouds. Now, again, we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail and what that means, but temperatures are starting to drop. We're noticing that for the valley, for Siskiyou County, Modoc County, also for the eastern mountains. How about the north coast? Still seeing a lot of the low clouds and fog out there this morning here. Some of that making its way into some of the inland areas, but you start heading more and more inland. We're seeing more and more in the way of sunshine. And then, of course, for Trinity County, seeing some clouds coming in later this afternoon as well. So this is the storm system I've got my eyes on right now because the ridge of high pressure that's been in place, it's breaking down. And it's still strong enough to keep this storm from really impacting us at its full potential. However, it could bring us not only some clouds, but maybe a few showers as well. Before we get into that, let's take a look at that fog we are seeing along the coast here. And there you can clearly see where we're seeing a lot of those low clouds still kind of lingering around the north coast. All right, so here's a look at Futurecast. Let's take you into midday into the afternoon. Now, what you'll notice here as we go into the afternoon, Futurecast is getting a little aggressive on the potential for thunderstorms. I don't think that's going to happen at this point, but you can see there's enough of a disturbance, and it picked up on this yesterday, kind of this line of showers that we were seeing here. Now it's looking like it's just kind of breaking it up and giving us a potential for a few stray showers. So here's the bottom line with today. Number one, you're going to notice a few more clouds even in the valley. Temperatures dropping by a few degrees. But if we see a stray shower for the north end of the valley, say around Redding, northward into the city of Shasta Lake, and even into Siskiyou County, you can see 7 p.m., we're seeing the potential for that as well. This is something worth watching, keeping an eye on. Of course, make sure you download the app and you can kind of check it before you head on out. I know my son's got a track meet this afternoon. I'm going to be watching it closely here, but I'm not too terribly concerned about it getting rained out. But as we go into your Thursday, you see how we have this kind of weak system kind of passing through again. But for the most part, Thursday is looking dry again. You see a few sprinkles trying to develop. But the main event, biggest chances for rain, really don't arrive until we get into your Friday. All right, let's take a look at that. So here's Friday morning, about 5 a.m. We got that main front passing through, heavy rainfall at times, gusty winds, typical cold front type of situation here. That will then push itself eastward. Now, this is a fairly warm storm system. We've got some snow out there, but it's going to be mainly above 5,000 to 6,000 feet. But as we go through the morning hours, chances for showers increase for the valley. Now, this model only goes out to about 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday, but that will progress eastward. And as we go through the afternoon, we're seeing that rain and high elevation snow for the eastern mountains. Now, I don't like to show numbers when it comes to the overall rainfall outlook because I don't think the long-range forecast models, at least for our area, do a really good job with that. But this kind of gives you a general sense of what we can expect through Tuesday of next week because we're going to be looking at chances for rain through the weekend and into early next week as well. Heaviest rain looks to be along the coast, just north of the valley and the north end of the valley, and of course some of the foothills and mountains east of the valley as well. We're not seeing as much off to the north and east. Bottom line, we've got some good rain heading our way for many of us here, in particular for the north coast, as I mentioned here. But even some decent rainfall for the valley as well. All right, so let's get you through the day today. Temperatures, again, we're shaving off a few degrees from what we saw yesterday. We're beginning to see those temperatures begin to drop here. Now for the coast, we're not seeing quite that spread, basically in the 50s here. We take a look at the inland areas though, you can see those temperatures also dropping down to 59 degrees on Friday, and of course got that rain. It could be heavy at times, by the way, on Friday, and then scattered showers after that. 64 degrees for Gazelle, 60 in Weed, 65 degrees for Fort Jones and Happy Camp, about 66 degrees. And of course we take you off into Modoc County, 62 degrees for Tule Lake, 63 out in Eagleville and Fort Bidwell, about 62. Your Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast for today, temperatures should be in the low to even some mid 60s for those daytime highs. And your Valley neighborhood forecast, still mild, still pretty warm. I mean, we're still in the low 70s for your highs. 71 degrees for Corning, 73 degrees for Durham, taking up northward, about 72 degrees for Redding, 68 for Lakehead, 70 for the city of Shasta Lake, and Palisadro, about 72 degrees. So looking at your 7-day outlook, there you can see those temperatures are dropping. We're from 72 today down to 60 by Friday. Now, I think the heaviest rainfall even for the Valley will be Friday. And by the way, we can't rule out an isolated thunderstorm on Friday and maybe even Saturday. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we continue with the cool and unsettled weather pattern with off and on chances for showers. All right, so that's a look at your forecast, getting you out the door this morning and taking a look at your latest 7-day forecast. Hope you have yourselves a great day, but if you want to stick around, you can get a little bit of a deeper dive into the forecast. But before we get into that, I want to mention that I do have a Weather NorCal app. As I mentioned, there's that slight chance that we could see a stray shower, maybe, just maybe, a thunderstorm, especially just north of the valley into Siskiyou County. Good way to track that and a good way to monitor that is to use the free Weather NorCal app. You can watch the radar. You can check out the hour-by-hour conditions out there. You can check out the current conditions in your area. Everything I offer at Weather NorCal, you can get right there on the app, including the regular video updates I do 3 times a day. You can check that out. You can, of course, watch the 24-hour streaming channel from the app as well. So if you like to watch Coffee with Kruger in the morning, you can do that from your phone. All right, isn't that crazy? It's awesome. All right, so take a look at the satellite image again. You can see this is the area of low pressure I've got my eyes on. Now, a couple of days ago, we didn't have to worry about any of these storms, all right, because we had a big ridge of high pressure in place, and that was the big blocking feature. It blocked these storms from moving in. Now, it's still holding on. It is holding on for dear life today. So this storm system is still kind of has the obstacle of the ridge of high pressure, and it is butting up against that ridge, but the ridge is breaking down, it's getting weaker. So this storm system is going to have a bigger impact on us than it would, as I mentioned, say a few days ago. So we're going to notice the clouds moving in today. We're going to notice maybe that potential for this to maybe squeeze out a few showers as well. Not just where you saw on Futurecast, but also even places along the north coast as well could see that potential for this to squeeze out a few showers. We'll have to watch, and again, watch that closely. So basically for the valley, northward into Siskiyou County and westward into the north coast, I would not be surprised if we saw some stray showers and an off chance for an isolated thunderstorm as well. Again, something worth watching. So again, this storm system is going to continue to ride up north. So we look at what's going on in the Pacific, and it's still very active. I mean, you can see this is the system we got today, another one coming in behind that. We've got another storm system here and more back behind that. So just a lot of activity over the Pacific that we've got to monitor, and a lot of this activity will be impacting us as well. All right, so there you can see we've got this ridge of high pressure right here, and these storm systems just kind of lining up from the west. Now, as we kind of progress through time, you can see as we go into Friday, this is the main event, right? This is what I was just talking about, the chances for rain on Friday. Then we go into Saturday. See this area of low pressure right here? It's kind of breaking apart, but still giving us some rain. Snow levels are dropping at this point because the colder air is beginning to move in. And then you can see it kind of dives down to the south. Now, what we're looking at here is, I think, the first half of the day on Sunday, chance for showers. By Sunday afternoon, things are starting to kind of break apart, and possibly even the first part of Monday as well. We're getting more of this northerly flow. Now, this could also mean some breezy conditions on Sunday as well. But you'll notice the rain itself is beginning to break apart. And then we go into Monday and Tuesday and even of next week, we're seeing the chance for more showers in the forecast. Now, after Tuesday, it looks like we are going to see a very weak kind of ridge begin to develop. And we could be looking at the potential for some drier conditions for Wednesday, Thursday of next week. and even through the end of next week. But you can see this storm system approaching. Now, we are getting, again, way ahead of ourselves. But here's the bottom line I really wanted to illustrate with this, is the fact that we've got a very active pattern over the Pacific, and that energy in the Pacific will be impacting us in some shape or form, at least through the beginning of next week. As we progress and go into the middle and latter part of next week, still a little bit up in the air, but for now it looks like things may begin to start to dry out a little bit here toward the middle and latter part of next week. But the Climate Prediction Center still has us in that above normal category. You can see the lighter shades of green indicating slimmer chances of above normal. So we're kind of getting in that mid-range, so better chances of seeing that decent rainfall. And on top of that, we're also seeing some better chances of seeing below normal temperatures, which will help to support the lower snow levels. And that is actually a good thing, because let's get more snow up on the mountains and get that really good reserve as we go into the summer season, that is. So there you can see your marine forecast. South winds 5 to 15 knots, waves from the west at 2 feet at 7 seconds, and from the west at 5 feet at about 14 seconds. No alerts, no advisories. So here's a look at your wave heights for today. 6 feet as you start kind of heading out, right? But not that bad, closer to the shore. Then we take you into your Thursday, and look what's happening. We're starting to see some brighter shades of green entering the picture. That's because we have the approaching storm system that'll be here on Friday, and as a result, those wave heights are going to start to increase over the next few days. Here's a look at our forecast for today, just kind of an overall general perspective. Temperatures mainly in the low 70s as opposed to the mid to upper 70s we saw yesterday. So again, we're shaving off some degrees there. And then there you can see mainly in the 60s for the higher elevations. Although places in Trinity County, upper 60s to around 70, low 70s for the inland areas, and for the coast, temperatures in the mid 50s. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook, and there you can see, of course, the cooler temperatures. Showers will be here by Friday, off and on all the way through Tuesday. And if we were extend this into next Wednesday, well, that's when you start to see the potential for some drier weather entering the picture. Now, looking at the snow levels, 6,000 feet initially. It's going to be a fairly warm storm system to begin with, but behind it, colder air moves in, so I've got snow levels about 3,500 feet, maybe locally lower in some spots here, but for the most part, around 3,500 feet. And then we get to 4,000 and 4,500 feet by next Monday and Tuesday. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for Mount Shasta, Alturas, and Susanville, also seeing that chance for rain and snow Friday through the weekend and into early next week.